Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Idris.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Your voice is fainting. Can you speak up, please?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, that's pretty better.
Okay.
So good afternoon. Okay, can we try the brain teaser? Can we check if it's there now?
I hope you are doing well. I'm Hiba, MYTF coordinator, and I will be your host for today's session. Welcome all to our master classes on the voluntary carbon market and its climate change mitigation potential, starting from the 19th of January 2024 and ending on the 9th of April 2024. The Mediterranean Youth Task Force, in collaboration with the Youth Skills Hub of the educational track of the World Food Forum, is organizing a series of master classes on the voluntary carbon market, a crucial frontier in the global fight against climate change. Each session will cover different topics, including greenhouse gas emissions, carbon registry standards and methodologies, carbon credits, nature-based climate solution projects, and the Paris agreements. Today's session is the first session in the series, and it will cover an introduction to the voluntary carbon market. And our speaker will be Idris Olanrewaju. I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. He is the Deputy Coordinator of MYTF, and I will be your moderator for today. I'm Hiba from Syria, the General Coordinator of MYTF. So allow me first to say a few words about MYTF. The Mediterranean Youth Task Force is the youth branch of the Silva Mediterranean Secretariat of FAO. Established in 2022, MYTF envisions a Mediterranean forest sector where youth can participate and contribute to through practices and through opportunities and the support of their own initiatives. As a dynamic task force, we are eager to facilitate the engagement of youth in the Mediterranean forestry issues through knowledge sharing, fostering an inclusive dialogue, and innovative actions. Our members and volunteers are a dedicated team of over 100 volunteers hailing from 35 countries around the world. Those young, engaged people are up to 35 years old who are either from or residing in the Mediterranean region, and our members have an active role in the forest sector of the Mediterranean region. They are students, young researchers, and young professionals. If you want to know more about MYTF and be part of this networking group, a network to propose, participate, and co-lead initiatives and activities on the Mediterranean forestry issue with other active and like-minded youth, please connect to us on our vibrant social media platforms to be part of the conversation. You can scan this QR code to reach to all our platforms, share your thoughts, and join a community of passionate people about the change. And now hold on to your seats because we will start the introduction to the voluntary carbon market with none other the MYTF Deputy Coordinator, Idris. Idris is a dedicated data analyst and monitoring and evaluation specialist in the agriculture at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, where he focuses his work on agribusinesses for youth employment, paving the way for a brighter and greener future. So without further ado, Idris, the floor is yours, and I'd like to remind you that you have 15 minutes of.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Iba. Welcome to this wonderful webinar series. I'm Idris Olanrewaju, just like Iba Muhammad introduced. It's my pleasure to be here, serving as the presenter, speaker, and convener for this inaugural edition. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have opportunity to engage with all of you. Our topic promises to be fascinating, informative, and educational. One of the significant benefits of discussion like this is that they promote awareness, knowledge sharing, not just that, the exchange of ideas, and empower us to take a leading role alongside our policymakers in finding solutions to the problem facing the youth in the Mediterranean region. So I look forward to a fruitful and enlightening conversation on the voluntary carbon market. So once again, thank you so much for being here with us. Today, I'll be taking you through the outline. First, we'll look at the introduction to voluntary carbon market, the potentials in mitigating climate change, look at the historical context also, we'll look at the stakeholders that are involved in the voluntary carbon market, the demand, the supply, and the dynamics of voluntary carbon markets to be discussing today. So we'll look at the project types, various projects across countries, and then what are the current trends and the future outlooks. Then we'll go into conclusion and look at the whole voluntary carbon market at a glance. So without wasting your time, let me quickly go into, okay, what is carbon market? The first thing, because we have voluntary market, we have compliance market. So let's look at voluntary carbon market. Just like the names implies, market, a carbon market is a place where management, teams, or individuals at organization can buy and sell different instruments that relate to greenhouse gas emission. So the two types of instruments that are traded in the market, the two types of, we have carbon credits, often referred to as allowances. Also, we have carbon offset. So these are the two important types of carbon market, the voluntary market and the compliance market. So the compliance markets may be recalled different things in different places, different geographies, including the regulated markets and the emission trading schemes. Next, please. Okay, so carbon market is being regulated and certified of the reduction of greenhouse gas emission, and then it is a place where carbon is being traded. You can buy, you can sell different instruments that are related to greenhouse gas emissions. So we see that carbon market equals to either individual businesses that participate in the trading of carbon emission for the reduction of greenhouse gas emission. Next, can you go to the next slide? So we have, before I go into introduction to this carbon market in proper, the two types of carbon that we have carbon offset, we have carbon credit. Carbon offset are created when an individual or organization decide they want to take on carbon reduction or sequestration projects, while carbon credit on the other part as a mayor representing permissible emission and offset as a compensation for removed emission. So carbon credits are traded on compliance markets, while carbon offset are traded on voluntary market. The voluntary carbon market experiences remarkable demand growth. Yes, in the last 5 years, the voluntary carbon market has seen an unprecedented growth in the demand for carbon credit from voluntary climate change mitigation activities that boils down to construction and different aspects of sector of the world. And growth fueled by climate commitment. This growth is driven by corporate commitment, consumer interest in, individual and corporate climate change mitigation. We have investors' appetite for carbon credits and mandatory emission disclosure and reduction. So also 15-fold growth by to $50 billion. In September 2020, I think, the task force on scaling the voluntary carbon markets estimated that demand for carbon credit will further increase by 15-fold by 2030. That's going to amount to up to $100 billion by 2030. You can see that the growth is unprecedented in the voluntary carbon market. And it is very crucial for government to grasp voluntary carbon market. Yes, this is very essential that government and other public sectors understand how voluntary carbon market works and how they can engage with voluntary carbon markets. And the purpose of voluntary carbon market is just to introduce the potential it holds to host researchers, students, policymakers, government of different nations. So to know that the hosting of voluntary carbon market project is very essential in mitigating climate change in the world as it stands now. Next slide. Okay. What are the differences between voluntary carbon markets and compliance markets? Just like I mentioned, voluntary carbon markets is a place where private individuals, corporations, and other actors they buy, they sell carbon credits outside of regulated or mandatory carbon pricing instruments. So participants are voluntarily purchase carbon credit or carbon offsets as they like. So it's aimed to just mitigate climate change by creating space for private actors to financial activities that remove greenhouse emission from atmosphere or reduce greenhouse emission associated with industries, transportations, the use of fossil fuels, energy, buildings, agriculture, deforestation, or any other aspect of human life. But compliance market, on the other hand, is a regulated market. Entities are legally mandated to meet emission reduction targets or allowances set by the government authorities. In this market, there are regulations, there are rules, there are standards that are being set by the government to make sure that industries or entities legally obliged to meet the specific emission reduction targets. So these entities, often referred to as cover entities, must acquire carbon credits or allowances to comply with emission reduction regulations or standard or benchmark. So compliance markets are typically driven by government and climate policies and regulations, such as the cap and trade system, emission trading schemes. So for non-compliance by the actors in the carbon market, there are penalties for it. If you breach the rules and regulations, you are not complying with the laws that guide the trading of carbons in compliance markets, there are penalties for it. And then in voluntary carbon market, it is very common in businesses, individual and eco-conscious organizations. So these are major difference between voluntary carbon markets and compliance markets. Next slide. Okay. This is a historical context of voluntary carbon market. We want to look at how did this started, and this is 2024, and then there have been major milestones in the past. It started from the 1989, the first carbon offset project. I think it started in 1989. Apply Energy Service offset, a coal-fired power plant, by financing and agroforest. The three major developments: the early market formation and innovation, consolidation and strengthening, and the third one is mainstreaming, which led to key policies development in 1997. The first one is Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocols in 1997 was the first time in the voluntary carbon market that international participation, governments in carbon markets started to become a more commonplace. But with the involvement of US government and China being absent from the agreement in Kyoto that took place in Paris from the agreement, widespread adoption remained elusive, not widely adopted. But in 2005, the EU Emission Trading Scheme, that's EU ETS, the cornerstone of European Union policy to fight climate change, and the world first and biggest carbon market. It uses a cap and trade system to limit the emission from, I think, 10,000 installation plus airlines, covering roughly about 30 to 40% of all the European Union greenhouse gas emission. So that led to the Copenhagen Climate Change Conference in 2009, where the climate change policy was raised to the highest political level and produced the Copenhagen Accord. The Copenhagen Accord, which established the long-term goal of limiting the maximum global average temperature increase to no more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level. This also encourages countries to set emission limitations and increase frequency for reporting the emission inventory. So that led to 2012 SDG and also 2015 Paris Agreement. From 2015 Paris Agreement, I think that was a well-known piece of legally binding international climate mitigation legislation with about 196 member countries. The goal of Paris Agreement is to limit the global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably 1.5 Celsius, compared to the pre-industrial level. So every 5 years, member countries, they will submit national determined contribution, which outline their plans for climate change. From there, we have a UN carbon offset platform of 2020, UN COP, where we have a certified project that reduces, avoid or remove greenhouse emission from our atmosphere. In 2020, they reached 2 million certified emission reduction purchased and cancelled since 2015. So this equates to roughly about 2 million climate investments to fight climate change. So in 2023, we have the core carbon principle, CCPs of 2023. The Integrity Council for Voluntary Carbon Market releases the core carbon principles in the effort to streamline the carbon offset industry. The CCPs are global benchmark for carbon offset that are set for rigorous threshold of project transparency, verification, environmental strategy, integrity, and adherence to sustainable development. So this led to 3 development phases that I mentioned in the first place: the early market formation and innovation. So development of new concepts, initial rules and corporate standards and tools, consolidation of those market formation and innovation, which led to development of best management practices, engagement of private sectors, certification of new project and methodology increased. Also, at the same time, we have the mainstreaming, which is the 3rd development phases, the market growth, corporate awareness and advocacy, validation of voluntary carbon market, standard by compliance system. So in 2006, I think major companies that pioneered the voluntary carbon market, for the purpose of this presentation, I have 3 that are very pronounced among all of them more. So Sky Media becomes the first world carbon neutral media company in 2006, followed closely by Google. Google becomes the carbon neutral in 2007, and the most pronounced one in 2019 as the EasyJet. EasyJet, they become the first major airline to offset all jet fuel emission. Next slide.
Allow me, Idris, first to say that we should be a bit faster.
Okay, I'll reduce the speed. I think I'm racing against the time. I think I have 20 minutes to make this presentation. So here we have the private carbon standard. We have 4 private carbon standards that dominate the voluntary carbon market. the ACR, which is the American Carbon Registry, the Climate Action Reserve, CAR, the Gold Standard, GS, and the Verified Carbon Standard. These are the 4 major private carbon standards that dominate the voluntary carbon market in the world today. And then we have in the next slide the evolution. Please, next slide. The evolution of a voluntary carbon market according to the 4 standards of the carbon market, the ACR, the CAR, GS, and VCS. We see the early phases of the evolution of voluntary carbon markets in the 1990s. From 1990s, we can see the yearly issuance from 1990s to 2010. We have about 33, and the share of for main carbon standards, you can see that in percentage. ACR have 1%, and CAR have about 19%. The GS has 9%, VCS have 72%. So we can see from 2010, 2011, 2012, from 2010 to 2016 to around the middle of 2017 is called the consolidation phase. And from the late 2017 up till 2023, it is called midstream phase. And then we can see how the yearly issuance is increasing yearly. From look at 2010, we have about 33, and then by June 2022, we have about 139. We have about 139 that have been issued from the voluntary carbon market. So the issuance is increasing day by day because the climate is changing every now and then, and they have major stakeholders that are getting more involved in voluntary carbon market. So next slide. So the importance of voluntary carbon market in fighting climate change. It's if carbon market offsets are both additional and permanent, then the carbon offset can help to reduce overall greenhouse gas emission, to balance off your personal carbon footprint to fight climate change, at least in the short term. But the benefits of voluntary carbon market, it goes beyond that. It improves air quality. The degradation of air quality as a result of carbon emission is a serious issue. Reducing the carbon dioxide emission will lead to improved public health in terms of asthma, respiratory allergies, airway disease, and lung cancer. And it also, at the same time, protects the ecosystem, protecting the forest habitat, agricultural land, aquatic ecosystem, biodiversity has been linked with improved human health and cleaner air, just like I said, that it improves air quality. So cleaner water, cleaner air, and a green society. So it supports a green jobs, yes. Renewable energy sectors employs around 11.5 million people worldwide as at 2019, with job growth expected to continue to increase as we realize just how beneficial and important renewable energy is for our environment. Next slide. And if used correctly, carbon offsets can provide environmental, economic, and social benefit that goes beyond reducing GH emission. Everybody wants to achieve net zero emission by the year 2030. So we have the major stakeholders in voluntary carbon market. We have about 9-10 major stakeholders. We can have more than that because we have a lot of stakeholders that are getting involved in voluntary carbon market. So the first stakeholder in voluntary carbon market is traders. These are an individual. or organization that buy and sell carbon credit or offset on the carbon market. So we have also the brokers and exchange. These are entities that facilitate the trading of carbon credits. They connect the buyers and sellers. So they often serve as some kind of middlemen. They often provide a platform. They provide a platform for carbon credit transactions. So the next person is project funders. These are organizations, individuals that provide financial support to carbon offset projects. They're helping them to get off from the ground, They help the project from the scratch. They make sure that the project started from the ground. So the next major stakeholder is the project owner. The entities responsible for initiating, not just that they initiate a project, they even manage carbon offset projects, often working to reduce, most of the time they work to reduce the emission and sequester carbon. Also, we have project developer. These are people that generate or supply carbon offsets for purchase. They often manage the verification and certification process of the whole project in voluntary carbon market. So we have carbon offset provider, generate and supply carbon offsets for purchase. Like I said, they manage the verifications, the certification process. So we have validators and verifiers. These are independent third parties. They are third parties. They are responsible for assessing the quality and the credibility of the authenticity of the carbon offset project. They ensure that they meet the established standard and criteria. And we have the standard organizations. These are bodies that establish the standard and guidelines for carbon offset projects. So they ensure that there are transparency and environmental integrity. So the whole benefit of voluntary carbon market is to ensure that we have a green society. So we have carbon offset buyers. Carbon offset buyers are just as the name implies, they neutralize or offset their own carbon emission. So, and then I've talked about the traders also. So we have all these stakeholders who are very, very important, and they play a key role in the voluntary carbon markets and in the projects that are involved in the carbon market or carbon offset. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the dynamics of demand and supply of voluntary carbon market. One way to show the growing demands of carbon credit in voluntary carbon market is through credit retirement. Credits are retired when they acquire an end user and put toward offsetting carbon emissions. So we can see from the diagram, we have from 2010, the issuance, we have the coal mining maintain the energy efficiency and fuel switch, which is 6.6 by 2010. And by the year 2021, we have seen the growth from 6.6, we have about 160, that's 159.8 from what we have in 2010. We can see that people are demanding for a lot of voluntary carbon credit requirements. If more credits are retired over time, it is clear, it is very, very clear that there is going to growing demand for a type of credit. So particularly from nature-based solution, renewable energy activity. So the voluntary carbon market is on track to set an all-time record for market volume in 2021. We can see in 2021 that the market volume is around 159.8, while the issuance of carbon credits is increasing rapidly. It may not be sufficient to meet demand anyway, especially for increasing popular credits associated with agriculture, forestry, and other land use projects. So often also called nature-based solution, NBS, as the case may be, or some people say climate solution, as the case may be. As the volume VCM continues to grow, so it is likely that more credits from all types of projects will be generated to meet demand and carbon standard. We continue to develop more robust methodology for different types of projects. Next slide. So because in recent years, okay, this is the voluntary market demand value. So in recent years, the voluntary carbon market has seen a growth in both the amount of carbon dioxide offset and the value of the market. So in year 2017, we have about the VCM saw 43.2 million metric tons of carbon offset at a value of $122 million. That's in 2017. In 2018, it saw the growth from 98 million metric tons of carbon offset at a value of $268 million. So that's how it continued to increase. When it's 2019, we have about 104 million metric tons of carbon offset at a value of $320 million. In 2020, we have about 182 metric tons of carbon offset at the value of $473 million US. And in 2021, the amount has skyrocketed to 298 million metric tons of carbon offset at a value of $1 billion. So it is now projected that by the year 2030, we'll have about the market value will be around $100 billion. So the global carbon offset market is estimated as at the moment at a value anywhere between $40 billion and $120 billion US. So because as at 2020, we have more than 1,100 companies globally that have committed to achieving net zero carbon emission by 2050. So hopefully we'll be able to achieve net zero by the year 2015. Next slide.
Idris, I'd like to remind you that the time is up, so please can you speed up the presentation?
Okay. So we have various project types that are involved in the voluntary carbon market. We have renewable energy projects, afforestation and reforestation, energy efficiency and conservation, methane capture and utilization, carbon capture and utilization and storage, improved cooking stoves, waste to energy projects, transportation. So up to biodiversity conservation. There are so many projects, so many international companies that are involved in projects that has to do with voluntary carbon market, like renewable energy projects. They are involved in renewable energy sources like wind, solar, hydroelectric, and geothermal power, and so. Next slide. So we have different project names and their retire credits. Because of time constraints, we won't be able to go into the details of how these credits are being retired and then how these project types are involved in retiring these credits in the voluntary carbon market. So next slide. So we have current trends in voluntary carbon market. The first one is consumer awareness. We are trying to make sure that we create some kind of awareness. There was a growing awareness, the demand among consumers for enhancing products and services with lower carbon footprint. So this was encouraging companies to invest in carbon offsetting at a selling point. So we have evolving standard and certification. Was seeing a proliferation of standard certification program to ensure that environmental integrity and credibility of carbon credits. We have technology and innovation, increasing corporate demand and global collaboration. So also we have the future outlook. The next slide. We have continued growth continue growth. We have integration with regulatory markets, standardization and transparency, global involvement, evolving offset project types, and sustainable disclosure. So, sustainable disclosure, there was an increasing emphasis on environmental, social, and governance. The three are taking the center stage in voluntary carbon market. So, the reporting and sustainability disclosure, which could further drive demand for carbon credits. The next slide. So, to conclude, the voluntary carbon markets, carbon offsetting has a relative short history. It saw its rise to popularity at the beginning of the 21st century. So, as a concern, grow over the crisis of climate change. The climate change and its negative impact brought about the carbon offsetting and its awareness. So that proved to be instrumental in developing the voluntary carbon market into what it is today. The voluntary carbon market is poised to see continued growth, and in the future, as we look to reduce the emission, the level stated in the Paris Agreement. So offsetting carbon is beneficial, but it should not be used as a panacea for climate change. When you buy a carbon offset, you are paying someone else to cut their emissions. So you don't have to cut your own emissions. That is why offsetting alone will not be enough. Because offsetting alone cannot be enough to reduce global carbon emissions. So in the near future, we could see a shift away from carbon offsets and towards carbon pricing. With this method, we will be cutting emissions from source by incentivizing a decrease in carbon consumption. So thank you for your listening, player. The next slide is my VCM at glance. I want to see voluntary carbon markets at a glance. So the size of voluntary carbon markets as of 2021 is around $2 billion. So we have about 156 carbon credits retired from 2022. That is 5 times growth of what we have since 2020, the 80% of share carbon avoidance credits. So the renewable energy project led to the roster in terms of demand. So we try as much as possible to engage in renewable energy projects, and projects that will make us to have a green society. We have a cleaner water, a green land for agriculture, very good forest for everyone of us to have a precious and a good life to live. So thank you for your listening, player.
Thank you, Idris, for this insightful presentation, the introduction to the voluntary carbon market. Now we have our practice to hear from our attendees, and we prepare several questions as a Zoom poll. So I'll ask my colleagues from Silver Mediterranean to launch the poll. And Idris, if you want to comment and the results of that poll, and please pay attention that we will have 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay. So now we want to quickly go into the apprentices. So we have about 5 minutes for each and every one of us. So I think, okay. Question 3, can we have options? Okay.
Kindly, Idris, if we can start commenting the results of the questions.
Okay. the first question is, what is the carbon footprint associated with? I think this is a reusable cloth bags versus a single-use plastic bag. I think that is what we are looking at. I think the correct answer is lower. So 66% say lower, and people are still answering it. You can see that. So reusable and cloth bag generally have a lower carbon footprint that use single-use plastic bags. So the production and disposal of plastic bags contribute to environmental issues, while reusable cloth bag, when used consistently, can be more sustainable. So I think 69%, 70%, I think it's growing. So if you pick lower, you are very correct. Very, very correct. So for question 2, contributors to carbon footprint. So the right answer should be regularly driving gasoline power car. So that is yes. If you pick regularly driving a gasoline power car, you are very correct. Because driving a gasoline power car contributes significantly to an individual carbon footprint due to the emissions produced during the combustion. So choosing alternative like public transportation or electronic vehicles can help lower carbon emissions. Yes. So we have 56% and still growing. Yes, very correct. And then the third questions, we have reducing meat consumption. I think that's what the question is all about. Reducing meat consumption. So the right answer is a plant-based diet required less land and water. Yes. So we have 51% getting the right answer. So plant-based diets generally require less land and water resources compared to meat-based diets, like livestock farming. It has a substantial environmental impact, and reducing meat consumption can contribute to lower one carbon footprint. So yes, 53% is still growing. Yeah. So, and the fourth questions, this one is talking about lowest carbon footprint energy source. Which of the following energy source has the lowest carbon footprint? Yes, almost everybody. Yeah, so we have 79%. They are going for solar. So solar is the correct answer. Solar energy is considered a renewable energy source with a low carbon footprint. So it harnesses power from the sun without emitting greenhouse gases during energy production. So it's making it environmental friendly. Yes, making it much more friendly for everybody, including even the forest, the oceans. Everybody, they find it friendly. Yes. And the last questions here, I have electronic device left plugged in. So the question is about electronic devices that are left plugged in when not in use. So the right answer should be increased impact. Yes. So 75% picked increased impact, and it's still growing. So regularly, when you are using electronic devices, be it your laptop, your phone, even your electronic vehicles, and you left a plug-in when not in use, it can increase energy consumption. So the best way to reduce energy consumption is to treat them off, unplug them. So this continuous power usage contributes to a high carbon footprint. So as more energy is required to support this device over time, they will continue to consume more energy if they are left unplugged. So I think we can continue from here. This is very good. So thank you so much for participation. This is quite encouraging. Keep it coming. If you have not, still have about, okay, good. So we can stop sharing. Thank you. So.
Thank you very much, Idris, and all our attendees. And we are glad that this introduction has triggered a discussion in the chat and a willingness to contribute and start a conversation among the youth. And I see that you started launching a Telegram dedicated for voluntary carbon market to connect and get to know each other, and that's so insightful. I will take few questions, so if you have any questions to our speaker, please do so. I will start with the first question from Ignacio. He is saying, according to your graphics, the voluntary carbon credits accounts for 84% retired certificates. What are the innovations you are seeing in the standards and methodologies space? We can't hear you, you are muted.
Sorry, I don't know that I've not unmuted myself. So the innovations on the voluntary carbon market that we have, I think the adoption of emerging technologies such as blockchain and the use of machine learning, artificial intelligence, all this could revolutionize the transparency and efficiency of carbon credit trading. Taking into consideration the global involvement, expanding the reach of the voluntary carbon market in the emerging economies. Not just emerging economies, we have developing nations too. We are expecting to play a significant role in its future. Most especially, we have so many countries from Mediterranean regions that are actively participating in the voluntary carbon market. We also have in the Middle East, we also have in some part of South Asia. So Africa is here to join the trend, jump on it, and there are so many potentials, especially the adoption of artificial intelligence and machine learning to revolutionize the carbon credit trend.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second question is, how can governments engage with within the carbon markets? What is the role within this market of government?
Okay, the role of governments, I think that's what you're asking. How can government engage in carbon markets? Government is very important. They are very key to the carbon market. So they can engage with carbon market through policy instruments, such as cap and trade system that I mentioned, or the carbon taxes. They can set emission reduction targets for projects. They can establish a regulation as well and create a market where entities can buy, they can sell, they can issue carbon credit. Not just that, they can also participate directly in projects. They can fund it, they can reduce the emissions and generate carbon credit. So in overall, they can contribute to the emission and reduction of carbon market efforts. Governments have a significant role to play through policy instruments.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's nice to hear from experts here in the chat about their work regarding the voluntary carbon market. And here I have a question: to what extent do you think that voluntary carbon markets can complement or be linked to the already existing regulated carbon market, whether existing or carbon pricing in streamline?
Sorry, I didn't get the question correctly.
So, the question is, to what extent do you think the voluntary carbon market can complement or be linked to regulated carbon markets, existing or carbon pricing?
Okay. The carbon pricing and the carbon market, both are two important concepts in carbon market. So the act of policy instrument that government engaged in the carbon market is one thing that will dictate the pricing of carbon market. The market is going to be guided by the regulations and rules by the stakeholders that will get involved in the carbon market. So the forces of the market would dictate with the policy instrument of the government, the carbon pricing in the market, as at when they are trading, because every stakeholder is important. Just like I mentioned, we have the traders who serves as the most important stakeholders in the carbon market. So they are the one, they buy and sell carbon credits, not just carbon credits, they also buy carbon offsets on the carbon market. So it depends on the market supplies and demand that will dictate the carbon prices. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much. And there is a question, and as you are coming, Idris, from Nigeria, there is a question about if there is any carbon project in Nigeria and how many countries are practicing carbon market, and is Kenya amongst them?
Okay. yeah, I can see somebody asking about Nigeria, but I can't categorically give you a specific number of countries participating in carbon projects, but I can tell you the regions that are participating actively in carbon credit. Just like I mentioned, I said Africa are not participating actively yet, most especially the West Africa. They are not, nothing to write home about that. We can still see that South Africa is still trying to participate actively, initiate projects that has to do with voluntary carbon market. So we have so many countries around the Mediterranean region. We have so many countries. The US is participating actively. Brazil is participating actively. China is participating actively. You have a country like Italy. You have countries like Great Britain that they are participating actively. But I prefer to talk about them in regions rather than mentioning countries one by one, because once a country can initiate a project within the region, I think it's much more important and effective to spread all over the region within a short period of time. Iba, you are muted.
Okay. Thank you very much. There is a question as well from Almi. In general, if I implement nature-based solutions project, how to calculate carbon offset or carbon credit?
Okay, the first thing I will say is that this is the introduction class. If you stick to the next class, I think a lot of how to calculate carbon offset and carbon credit will be discussed in the next class. But that will not stop me from answering your question. But I wish you can stick to the series. There are so many series coming up that will discuss how to calculate carbon offset and carbon credit. So to answer your questions, I will share a link with you where you can check the Kyoto Agreement, the Paris Agreement, where the calculation of carbon credits and carbon offsets is being stated. So it's much more easier than me telling you the mathematical approach during the presentation. So if you are, I don't know if you are a project owner or a project developer, or you are trying to partner with anyone that has to do with carbon credit or carbon offset. So I think that is very, very important, because you can say you want to calculate the carbon credit or carbon offset. So I will share a link.
Thank you very much. And to your knowledge, a question from Kevin, what modalities have you set in place to make sure that carbon market is developed to African countries?
I'm also Kenya. You didn't mention that? Yes. For Africa to participate, most of the African countries are developing countries. I want you to note that. And then each African countries have their each peculiar challenges they are facing. So they are still struggling to meet up with so many agendas, and then we have so many political instability in Africa, so which make it more difficult to put anything in place as regards the carbon market in Africa. I don't have information about Kenya. I can't share anything I don't have. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you all for the chat and the insightful notes you are making on the chat. And allow me here to say that the groups you are launching and establishing on Telegram are totally independent from us. So you are working on your own to connect and share insights. So just to let you know about this. So as you know, this is a series of master classes, and we wanted to highlight several skills from this series on the hot topic of the voluntary carbon market. First of all, understanding what is voluntary carbon market and the compliance market, get to know more about greenhouse gas accounting and verification, and increase the knowledge of carbon credits quality and integrity, increase our familiarity with carbon registry standards and methodologies, and the application of VCM in nature-based climate solution and the relation to the Paris Agreement, and get to know the basics of nature-based carbon project design. So these are the skills that we aim at highlighting and providing you with this series of master classes that started today with this impressive introduction from Idris, and we will continue. And for that, I would like to invite you all and remind you about our next master class. And it will be session number 2 on how are VCM greenhouse gas reductions accounted for at the project level. And our speaker will be Sanjay Mishra. He is a consultant in Germany, and he is working full-time consultant in Germany for Calliers Group. So stay tuned. It will be on the 23rd of January, Tuesday, at the same time, 14:30 CET. And we, if you have any concerns and questions about today's session and other sessions, please write to us on the MYTF email, and connect to us on social media platforms, as we hope to know more your thoughts and ideas about the topic of today and the topic of the course in general. And as our time is up now, I would like to say thank you for all of you for this engagement, and I would like to say that the recordings will be shared soon, and remind you that there is a certain number of classes to be attended in order to get the certificate. And until we see you on next Tuesday, I would like to wish you a great day wherever you are, and see you on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. See you on Tuesday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye.